This unit's on the Holocaust. Before we start, you might want to remember things you might already know about the Holocaust. You might know that it involved Jewish people. You might know it had something to do with the Nazis or Germany, Nazi Germany. You might even know that it occurred during World War II in the mid 20th century. What are some things you might want to know about the Holocaust? Well, how did it all start? Um, how did it end? Is there anything else like it that ever happened before in human history? We'll find out in this unit about the Holocaust. Uh, the first, the term genocide and Holocaust are usually used together. The term genocide was coined by Raphael Lemkin in 1944, just before the end of the Second World War, during the Holocaust itself. Well, according to the United Nations Genocide Convention, the term denotes acts, quote, committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. More specifically, genocide includes, quote, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part. Genocide and Holocaust are not exactly the same thing. Holocaust is a word of Greek origin meaning sacrifice by fire. Genocide was an element of the Holocaust, but the Holocaust involved much more than just genocide. According to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, the Holocaust was a systematic, bureaucratic, state sponsored persecution and murder of approximately 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. The Nazis, who came to power in Germany in January 1933, believed that Germans were racially superior and that the Jews were deemed inferior and not worthy of life. The first section of this presentation includes a brief history of the Jews, how the Jews were persecuted throughout the centuries, and the origin of the term anti-Semitism. Nazi policies and actions can be understood only in this historical context. The second part of the presentation focuses on the Nazis' rise to power. The third part of the presentation looks at specific ways in which the Nazis persecuted the Jews, including economic, social discrimination, mass arrests, deportations, creation of ghettos, and massacres. It also discusses the final solution, which is the development of a systematic mass murder at killing centers such as Treblinka and Auschwitz-Birkenau. Finally, the section that will end the unit with aftermath. It will address the liberation of the camps, the survivors, their journey home, and the war crime trials, and the culture of Holocaust memory and memorialization. So, who are the Jews? Well, the Jews are descendants of an ancient tribal people. Eventually, the Hebrew tribes united under the king Saul, David, and Solomon around 1000 BC, and lived in an area similar to what now forms the contemporary state of Israel. In 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the Jewish temple in Jerusalem and captured the Jews, making them slaves in the Roman Empire. This was the beginning of the Jewish diaspora, a big dispersal of Jewish people into Europe, which over the subsequent 1500 years led to many Jews into the western and eastern parts of Europe and other parts of the globe. Anti-Semitism. Coined by William Marr in 1879, the term anti-Semitism was first used only about 50 years before Hitler came to power. For hundreds of years before that, however, European rulers, both Christian and secular, implemented discriminatory policies and incited deadly attacks against the Jews. The image here is from The Eternal Jew, the title of a movie and a book produced by the Nazi Party in 1937. The book's cover shows a caricature of a Jew holding part of Russia under his arm, a whip in one hand and bloody coins in the other. What message does this drawing attempt to convey about Jews? Well, we know the sign of the Soviet Union, so that's hinting at, oh, Jews must be communist. Uh, with the whip, well, there's danger there. You don't want to be whipped. And the coins, maybe about how Jews are greedy, or how Jesus was sold out by a Jew to the Roman government to be executed for 30 pieces of silver. There's a lot of symbolism in here that's supposed to make you prejudice against Jewish people. Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century. The power of the Christian church grew from this period. The church disliked the Jews because they would not accept Jesus as the Messiah. Over the next 1,000 years, the church issued several anti-Jewish decrees. In addition to denying civil rights to Jews, the church passed laws which excluded Jews from public office, permitted the burning of books and synagogues, and forced Jews to wear a badge on their clothes back in the 1200s, the Middle Ages. In the 11th century, the Crusaders, who sought to rid the Holy Land of Muslim infidels, also murdered Jews and pillaged Jewish property on their way to the Middle East. In Switzerland and Germany during the 14th century, Jews were accused of starting the plague by poisoning the drinking water in Europe. This is not true, but they were blamed for it. This false accusation sprang in part from general prejudice against the Jews. However, many people and city governments that owed substantial amounts of money to Jewish lenders saw an opportunity and joined in the accusations. With many calling for blood, town councils carried out mass executions of Jewish residents. So the Germans were not the first to try to mass murder Jewish people. It's happened many times throughout history. In 1516, the governor of Venice forced Jews to live in a particular area of the city which would be called Ghetto Novo, thus establishing the first ghetto in Europe. The Spanish Inquisition revived in the 15th century in order to ensure the Catholic faith and punish heretics. Jews, Muslims, Protestants were all targets. The Spanish monarchs, Isabella and Ferdinand, passed an edict expelling all Jews from Spain. In the years that followed, other European countries, including England, France, Germany, and Portugal, all expelled Jewish populations. In the past, Christian missionaries had forced Jews to convert to Christianity and get baptized. Secular rulers had isolated Jews into ghettos and away from the rest of the population. The Nazis isolated Jews also, and ultimately planned for the widespread mass murder of the Jews. This quote in the slide comes from Raoul Hilberg's book, The Destruction of European Jews. It says the missionaries of Christianity had said in effect, "You have no right to live among us as Jews." The secular rulers who followed had proclaimed, "You have no right to live among us." The Nazis in Germany at last decree, "You have no right to live." So you can see over time, societies have become more and more critical of the Jewish religion. Luther originally was sympathetic to Jews, however. When they did not convert to his form of Christianity, though, he turned against them. In 1543, Luther wrote of the Jews, quote, "They are nothing but thieves and robbers. First set fire to their synagogues or schools. I advise that their houses also be razed and destroyed. I advise that all their prayer books and Talmudic writings be taken from them. I advise that their rabbis be forbidden to teach. I command putting a flail, an axe, a hoe, a spade, a distaff, or a spindle into the hands of young, strong Jews and Jewesses, and letting them earn their bread." Some historians believe that the influence of Lutheranism in German religion and culture may have contributed to the acceptance of anti-Semitism in the 20th century. So we see, as far back as Luther, Germany had a strong hate of the Jewish people. That'll be it for this video. We have a couple discussion questions for you on Google Form.